Grocery stores are not designed around your health, your convenience, or your budget. Every square foot of that building has been engineered by professionals whose only job is to extract maximum spending from you per visit. The lighting, the music tempo, the product placement, the smells near the bakery. None of it is random. None of it is accidental. The average American household bleeds over $1,500 per year inside grocery stores, not because they're reckless spenders, but because the system they're shopping inside is specifically built to outmaneuver reasonable decision making. This isn't about being smarter, it's about knowing what you're walking into. We're going to go through this list item by item. Some of these will be obvious once you hear them. A few will genuinely change how you shop. And one sitting at the top of the list has a health dimension that should make you deeply uncomfortable about a purchase most households make without a second thought every single week. Let's get into it. Number 14, bagged salad kits. Pull up the unit price on a bagged salad kit and you'll find something that doesn't hold up under 30 seconds of scrutiny. A typical kit, shredded lettuce, one tiny dressing packet, maybe some croutons, runs $5 to $7. That same kit, if you sourced the ingredients yourself, costs under $2. You're looking at a markup somewhere between 200% and 300%. And in exchange for that premium, you're getting an inferior product. Here's what actually happens when lettuce gets shredded and sealed in a bag. The cutting process triggers oxidation immediately. Vitamins, particularly vitamin C, begin breaking down right away. By the time that bag reaches the produce section, it may have been processed days before you picked it up. The freshness you're paying a premium for is partly an illusion, sustained by modified atmosphere packaging that slows visible degradation while nutritional decline continues underneath. The dressing packets are their own problem. Open one and read the label. You'll find sodium levels that have no business in a salad, added sugars, emulsifiers, and preservatives that are there to extend shelf stability, not improve the flavor. A drizzle of olive oil and a squeeze of lemon from your kitchen costs a few cents and contains none of those additives. The fix is straightforward. Buy a whole head of romaine or a bunch of kale. Wash it when you get home, roll it in a dry kitchen towel, and refrigerate it. It stays crisp for close to a week, costs less than half the bagged version, and hasn't been sitting in a processing facility since Tuesday. Number 13, flavored instant oatmeal packets. On paper, a box of flavored oatmeal packets looks like a reasonable purchase. 10 portions, quick to prepare, marketed as a healthy breakfast. Run the actual numbers and it falls apart quickly. A box of 10 flavored packets costs around $4 to $5. A 42-ounce container of plain rolled oats from the same shelf costs the same amount and contains 25 to 30 servings. You're paying 2 to 3 times more per serving for the packaged version, and the trade-off isn't better nutrition, it's worse nutrition. A single flavored oatmeal packet typically contains 10 to 15 grams of added sugar. Some go higher. The American Heart Association recommends no more than 25 grams of added sugar per day for women, 36 for men. One breakfast packet delivers nearly half a woman's daily limit before she's eaten anything else. Plain rolled oats contain 0 added sugar. Cooking plain oats takes 5 minutes on a stovetop. Overnight oats take 4 minutes of effort the night before and 0 in the morning. Add your own fruit, a small drizzle of honey, some cinnamon, you control what goes in, the cost drops by 2/3, and you're not starting the day with a dessert-level sugar load disguised as a health food. Number 12. Individual yogurt cups. Do the math on the unit price of a single-serve yogurt cup versus a large container of the same brand, same product, same ingredient list, and you'll find a gap of up to 400%. A pound of Greek yogurt in individual cups runs $14 to $17. The large tub of the same yogurt costs $4 to $5 per pound, same food. Same nutrition, 4 times the price. There's an additional detail most people never consider. Large containers turn over faster on the shelf, which means they're typically newer when you pick them up. The individual cups in a multi-pack have often been sitting longer, so you're paying 4 times more for a product that's likely older, generating 5 to 6 times more plastic waste per serving and receiving nothing of additional value in return. The entire solution costs $6 and takes 2 minutes. Buy a set of small reusable containers. Portion the large tub when you get home. Done. A household where one person eats a yogurt cup daily saves $250 to $350 per year from this one change alone. Number 11. Single-serve snack packs. The arithmetic here is unusually stark. A multi-pack of individually portioned crackers, 10 or 12 small pouches, costs $7 to $9 for roughly 8 to 10 ounces. The family-sized bag of the exact same crackers from the same brand costs $4 to $5 for 28 to 30 ounces. On a per-ounce basis, you're paying 5 to 6 times more for the single-serve version. There is no quality difference, no flavor variation, no premium ingredient. The food is identical. What you're paying for is the act of subdivision. Someone portioned it into smaller bags before it reached you, and you're absorbing that cost at a 500% markup. Households relying regularly on single-serve packaging spend an estimated $600 to $900 more per year than those buying the equivalent in bulk. Over a decade, that becomes a meaningful sum of money spent on packaging, not food. The practical solution? Buy the large bag. I pick up a set of reusable snack-size containers and portion it yourself at home. The whole process takes about 4 minutes and costs nothing beyond the containers, which pay for themselves in a single shopping trip. If this is landing, stick around. Like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the rest. The next several items involve significantly larger annual costs. Number 10, pre-cut fruits and vegetables. Walk into any grocery store's produce section and you'll usually find the same item in 2 formats a few feet apart. A whole pineapple for $2.99. That same pineapple already peeled, cored, and sliced into a plastic container for $5.49. That's an 83% price increase for approximately 4 minutes of knife work. Industry data consistently puts the average markup on pre-cut produce at 40% or more compared to buying whole. But the financial hit isn't the only downside. The moment a piece of fruit or a vegetable gets cut, oxidation begins. Exposure to air and light starts degrading vitamins immediately, particularly vitamin C and several B vitamins. Pre-cut produce dries out faster, loses its texture more quickly, and spoils well before the whole version would. You're paying significantly more for a product that is measurably less nutritious and less fresh than the whole version sitting 2 feet away. 2 practical alternatives. First, batch prep at home. 20 minutes once or twice a week handles nearly everything most households buy pre-cut. Second, and this one is genuinely underused, the frozen aisle. Frozen fruits and vegetables are harvested at peak ripeness and flash frozen on the same day, which locks in both vitamins and texture. They cost 40% to 60% less than pre-cut fresh alternatives and last for months. The grocery industry doesn't heavily promote frozen produce because it carries some of the lowest margins in the store. That's useful information. Number 9. Name brand spices. A standard jar of smoked paprika from a major grocery brand costs around $3.79 for 2.5 ounces. The same quantity of the same spice at a nearby Middle Eastern or Indian grocery market typically runs under 50 cents. That's a price difference approaching 700%. But the price gap isn't the biggest issue. Those branded bottles have often been sitting in a supply chain for 6 months to 2 years before they reach your cart. Spices lose their volatile aromatic compounds over time. By the time you're using that paprika, you may be cooking with something significantly weaker than what the label suggests. The vibrant, smoky depth the recipe calls for gets replaced by mildly colored powder that adds little. Ethnic specialty grocers rotate their spice inventory in weeks rather than months. Fresher product, bulk quantities, dramatically lower prices. Where possible, buy whole spices. They retain potency far longer than pre-ground versions. Store them in airtight glass containers away from heat and light. The $3.79 you'd spend on a small grocery store jar of oregano buys enough at the right market to last most of a year. Number 8. Specialty diet-labeled foods. This is where grocery store pricing gets genuinely audacious. A jar of keto-labeled peanut butter at a major chain, approximately $11 for 16 ounces. Ingredients: peanuts, salt. A jar of conventional natural peanut butter from the same store. Same ingredients, same macronutrient profile. $3.79 for the same size. The word keto-friendly on the front label added $7.20 to the price and changed nothing about the food inside. The pattern holds throughout the specialty diet section. Paleo-approved crackers, Whole30 compliant marinara. Every one of these descriptions applies equally to conventional products already on the shelf, products that carry none of the premium. Diet frameworks like keto and paleo are not product categories, they're nutritional criteria. Whole foods have always met those criteria without requiring a branded label to signal it. The specialty diet food market grew by over 40% in just 2 years. Not because labeled products are nutritionally superior, they aren't. Because consumers committed to a specific eating approach tend to feel uncertain about compliance, and a label that signals approval is worth paying for when you're in that mindset. The practical approach: identify the actual nutritional principle behind your eating framework, then look at the ingredient list on conventional products. Eggs are keto, plain chicken breast is paleo, canned tomatoes with no additives are Whole30 compliant. None of it requires a premium sticker. Read the back of the package and ignore the front entirely. Number 7. Products labeled superfood. Here is something the packaging will not mention. The FDA has never defined, regulated, or approved the term superfood. It is not a scientific designation. It carries no evidentiary standard. Any manufacturer can print it on any label and charge whatever premium the market will accept. Thousands of them do. Over the past 4 years, use of the word superfood in consumer food marketing has increased by more than 300%. That has nothing to do with new nutritional science and everything to do with the fact that the label justifies a price most consumers would refuse if the same product were presented without it. Goji berries sell for $12 to $14 for 8 ounces at major U.S. grocery stores, over $24 per pound. In China, where they've been a dietary staple for centuries, they're an ordinary, inexpensive market item. The superfood designation is not science applied to goji berries when they cross the Pacific. It's a branding decision applied to the packaging. Meanwhile, in cultivated blueberries, backed by decades of antioxidant and cognitive research, sell for $3 to $5 per pound. Blackberries, raspberries, frozen mixed berries, same range. Dark leafy greens, legumes, cruciferous vegetables, whole grains. The foods with the most robust long-term research behind them are not exotic imports. They've been on the bottom shelf of the produce section the entire time. We're about halfway through. If you're finding this useful, hit like and subscribe. The next few items involve some of the larger annual dollar amounts on this list. Number 6. Organic everything indiscriminately. The instinct to buy organic is legitimate. Pesticide exposure from conventionally grown produce is a real concern backed by real data. The Environmental Working Group's annual analysis has found detectable pesticide residues on roughly 95% of sampled produce. Some samples showed more than 50 distinct chemical compounds on a single piece of fruit. Strawberries have tested positive for as many as 23 separate residues even after washing. That matters. But the same research produces a finding that receives far less attention. Nearly 65% of the Clean 15, items like avocados, sweet corn, and pineapple, showed no detectable pesticide residue at all. For those products, organic certification provides no measurable safety benefit. You're paying a premium for a label that changes nothing about what's actually in the food. The organic food market is now a $52 billion industry. The label adds roughly 20% to the cost of most items and considerably more in some categories. 4 of the 5 most commonly detected residues on high-risk produce are fungicides applied post-harvest, not to help crops grow, but to extend shelf life and maintain appearance. These compounds are under ongoing study for potential effects on thyroid and reproductive function. The practical approach: spend your organic budget on the dirty dozen: strawberries, spinach, kale, peaches, pears, and similar high-residue items. Buy conventional for the Clean 15. Applied consistently, this reduces organic grocery spending by 40 to 50% without meaningfully changing your actual pesticide exposure. This is not an argument against organic food. It's an argument against buying it indiscriminately, which benefits the industry and not you. Number 5. Pre-marinated meats. In any conventional grocery store's meat section, you'll typically find 2 versions of the same cut in close proximity: plain chicken thighs at $4.49 per pound, honey chipotle chicken thighs in a sealed marinade tray at $7.29 per pound. A 62% price increase for approximately 30 to 50 cents worth of sauce applied to the same piece of meat. That's the financial layer. Behind it sits something more significant. Pre-marinated meats are routinely very high in sodium. Many commercially marinated chicken products contain 700 to 900 milligrams per serving. The American Heart Association's recommended daily ceiling is 2,300 milligram raw, and ideally closer to 1,500 for adults managing blood pressure. A single serving of some pre-marinated cuts delivers more than a third of that ceiling before any other food has been consumed that day. The sodium isn't incidental. It's a cheap preservative that extends shelf life, enhances flavor perception, and creates a craving response. It functions almost perfectly as a profit ingredient. A basic marinade takes under 5 minutes to make at home. Olive oil, an acid like lemon juice or vinegar, garlic, salt, and whatever dried herbs you have available. The result costs a fraction of the tray, contains a fraction of the sodium, and tastes better because the ingredients are fresh rather than shelf stabilized. The math strongly favors making it yourself. Number 4, what pre-marinated meat is actually hiding. This builds directly on the previous point and is worth its own section because the full picture goes beyond the markup and the sodium content. Commercial marinades don't just add flavor, they add color-enhancing compounds, modified starches, preservatives, tea, and flavor additives specifically selected to make meat look and smell more appealing than it might otherwise. Former grocery store meat department employees have noted openly that pre-marinated products are frequently used to move cuts approaching their sell-by date. Heavy seasoning, high salt concentration, and color-enhancing additives effectively mask the subtle changes in smell and appearance that would otherwise communicate age to a customer examining the package. The vibrant, glistening presentation on those trays is partly seasoning and partly concealment. When you make a marinade at home, you know every ingredient in it. When you buy the pre-marinated version, you're working with an ingredient list that often includes compounds with names engineered to sound more natural than they are, with no transparency about the age of the meat underneath. You're paying 60% more, consuming significantly more sodium, accepting less transparency, and potentially buying meat that's closer to expiration than you'd knowingly choose in exchange for saving about 3 minutes of mixing. The practical calculus doesn't support the tray. Number 3, energy drinks and specialty coffee. This entry is different from the rest. The reason isn't that the markup is uniquely egregious, though it is. It's that for most people, this isn't a single purchase. It's a daily habit. And daily habits, when you total them, produce numbers that are genuinely uncomfortable to confront. One energy drink from the grocery store, $3.29 to $4.50. One cold brew or specialty coffee on the commute, $5 to $6. Buying both 3 or 4 times per week puts you at $100 to $130 per month on beverages alone, before purchasing a single food item. Over a year, that's $1,200 to $1,500. Over 5 years, that's a meaningful portion of an emergency fund spent on drinks. Add the health dimension. A standard energy drink contains 54 to 80 grams of sugar in a single can, exceeding the American Heart Association's recommended daily limit for women in one serving and approaching double the limit for men. The $22 billion energy drink industry has repackaged this reality behind phrases like natural caffeine, B vitamins, and clean energy. The biochemistry hasn't changed. The coffee markup is similarly difficult to justify once you actually run the numbers. A 40-ounce container of quality ground coffee costs around $10 and produces approximately 100 cups, about 10 cents per cup brewed at home versus $5 or more at a cafe. Cold brew takes 4 minutes of active effort. Coarse ground coffee, cold water, refrigerate overnight. A 32-ounce batch costs $1.50 to $2 to produce. The same quantity in ready-to-drink bottles runs $15 to $25. The industry is counting on morning grogginess preventing most people from ever doing this math. Once you do it, the numbers don't go away. Quick pause. If you've made it this far, you probably know someone who needs to see this. Share it, and hit subscribe if you haven't already. Number 2. Grocery store bakery items. You've almost certainly experienced this without identifying the mechanism. You walk into a large grocery store, and within the first few seconds, something shifts. There's warmth. There's the smell of bread or cinnamon or something baking, and before you've consciously noticed a single product, you're already thinking about the bakery section. Here's what's actually happening. Many major grocery chains use scent diffusion systems that pump synthetic bakery aromas through the store's ventilation, not as a byproduct of actual baking, but as a deliberate, engineered intervention designed to trigger hunger and emotional comfort at the precise moment you're most susceptible to making an unplanned purchase. Research from the Scent Marketing Institute found that artificially circulating the smell of fresh bread in a grocery store tripled bakery sales, not increased, tripled. It's one of the most effective forms of in-store advertising the retail industry has ever discovered. And most shoppers experience it dozens of times without ever knowing it's a system. The profit margins on bakery items reflect the investment. Individual muffins, croissants, and decorated cookies typically carry margins of 55 to 65%. A $4.50 muffin may represent a raw ingredient cost of under $1. You're paying for presentation, packaging, and a sensory experience that reached you before your rational judgment did. Two practical alternatives. Most stores maintain a day-old bakery section where the previous day's items are marked down 40 to 50%. The quality difference is negligible. Bread from yesterday is still bread. Store-brand baking mixes deliver equivalent results at a fraction of the cost. A $2.29 box produces the same quantity as a $10 bakery tray. The smell in the store feels like a spontaneous craving. It isn't. Understanding the mechanism is enough to change how it lands. Bonus number 1, store brand versus name brand packaged goods. This one doesn't get enough direct attention, so it earns a spot here. In most product categories, canned goods, pasta, flour, rice, frozen vegetables, condiments, cleaning products, store brand items are manufactured in the same facilities as the name brand versions they sit next to. The ingredients are frequently identical. The quality is functionally indistinguishable. The price difference averages 20 to 30% across most categories, and considerably more in some. A household consistently choosing name brand packaged goods over store brand equivalents spends an estimated $400 to $700 more per year for the privilege of a different label on the outside of the packaging. That's not a benefit. That's a marketing cost passed directly to you. The categories where this matters most: canned beans and tomatoes, pasta and rice, frozen vegetables, baking staples, and over-the-counter medications. In every one of these areas, the store brand product is held to the same regulatory standards as the name brand alternative and typically comes from the same source. Buy the store brand by default and spend the difference on something that actually varies by source. Fresh produce, good olive oil, quality proteins. Bonus number 2, checkout aisle. Impulse products. The checkout lane is not a waiting area. It is a revenue system that captures spending from customers who have already completed their intended shopping and are standing still with time on their hands. Every product in that lane was placed there deliberately, chosen for high impulse purchase probability and elevated margin. The items, gum, candy, small snacks, batteries, phone chargers, magazines, carry markups well above the store average. A pack of batteries at checkout costs 40 to 60% more than the same batteries in the hardware aisle. A candy bar at the register runs $1.89 to $2.50. The same bar in the confectionery section costs less. The average American household adds $200 to $400 per year in unplanned checkout lane purchases. The fix is simple but requires one deliberate habit. Keep your eyes on your phone or your list while waiting. The products in that lane are not there for your convenience. They're there because someone calculated exactly how much unintended spending a person standing still for 2 to 3 minutes will generate, and then stocked the lane accordingly. Number 1, bottled water. Here's where the numbers stop being surprising and start being genuinely difficult to rationalize. A standard $2 bottle of water costs the manufacturer approximately 5 cents to produce. That's a markup of roughly 4,000%. And in a significant number of cases, the water inside that bottle is drawn from a municipal source, the same public water supply system as your kitchen tap. You are paying 4,000% more for water that, in many cases, originates from the same place as what comes out of your faucet for free. The financial case against bottled water is overwhelming on its own, but the health dimension is harder to dismiss, and most people are not aware of the current state of the research. A 2024 study from researchers at Columbia and Rutgers universities found that the average 1 liter bottle of commercially sold water contains approximately 240,000 microscopic plastic particles. That figure is 10 to 100 times higher than earlier estimates, not because the contamination is new, but because scientists have only recently developed tools capable of detecting the smallest fragments, now called nanoplastics. These particles are being found in human tissue, lung samples, breast milk, and placental tissue from unborn children. Here is the detail that should end the bottled water debate entirely. Newer research indicates that bottled water frequently contains higher levels of microplastic contamination than tap water. The plastic packaging itself is a source. You are paying 4,000% more for water that may be more contaminated than the free alternative sitting in your kitchen. The fix costs less than a single month of bottled water purchases. A water filter certified by NSF International runs $25 to $60 and removes the vast majority of relevant contaminants from tap water. A reusable stainless steel bottle costs $15 to $30. The setup pays for itself within weeks and continues saving money indefinitely. This is not a wellness upgrade. It's the most straightforward financial and health decision on this entire list. What to do with all of this? Grocery stores are engineered environments built by professionals with one objective: maximize revenue per square foot, per visit, per customer. The layout, lighting, music tempo, scent systems, product placement at eye level, the end-of-aisle displays. Every element of the shopping environment exists to extract spending beyond what you came in to do. None of it was designed for your benefit. But this doesn't require a dramatic response. It requires specific practical adjustments applied consistently. Buy whole produce and prep it yourself, even if only once or twice a week. Filter your tap water and use a reusable bottle. Spend 30 seconds comparing unit prices before grabbing the convenient version. Use the Dirty Dozen/Clean 15 framework to allocate your organic budget where it actually matters. Find the nearest ethnic grocery market and buy your spices there. Make your own marinades. Skip the flavored oatmeal packets and the bagged salad kits. Default to store brand packaged goods. Make your cold brew at home. And read the ingredient list on the back of every package before you trust anything on the front. The $1,500 figure from the top of this list compounds across the full life of a household. Over a decade, recovering even half of it through consistent, informed choices represents tens of thousands of dollars, not from a single dramatic decision, but from small ones made repeatedly in the produce aisle, the dairy case, the snack food section, and the checkout lane. The bottled water sitting in your cart right now may contain more plastic contamination than your tap water and cost 4,000% more. If that's true, the question worth sitting with is this: what else in your cart is doing the opposite of what the label promises? The grocery industry is counting on you not thinking too hard about that question. And walking back into the same store next week with the same cart, the people who do think about it are the ones who actually keep the money.